Welcome, Margie. I am very excited to learn more about you and your club. And I would love to hear in your words, like, who are you? What is your club? And what are you all about?
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Margie. I'm the founder of SF Social Club here in San Francisco. And what we're about is we are a social community. We like to call ourselves a community of communities, actually, because we collaborate with so many other wonderful communities and local businesses and whatnot. But we're a social community of about 500 plus members. We organize 1 to 2 events every week. Most of those are for members, but 1 to 2 times a month we'll do like these larger public collaboration events as well. And we are coming up on our second anniversary in January. I founded it we launched in January 2024, and it's been a wonderful, wild journey.
Oh, congratulations for getting through often like the hardest. Like I know the first year and year and a half of building a community is often the toughest. So congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a huge moment.
Yes.
I've already got so many questions. I'm like, oh, a community for communities of communities and like events, because I see that you'll do so many events, which is really impressive. And you have like a big team of people who are involved. So I've got so many questions for you. But first, I would love to know like, who are your people? Who are the people that are in your community? Like the interests they share or the desires they share or like the identities that they share? Like, who are the people that are a part of this?
Yes. When I built this community, I very intentionally wanted it to be more of a generalist community. So, whereas there are a lot of awesome kind of interest focused, hobby focused communities out there, ours is extremely diverse. And that I mean, like, all sorts of different interests and hobbies that bring people to our community. We have a variety of ages. We have all kinds of genders and sexual orientations in our community. And so when you go to any one of our events, you really do see a diverse room of people. And at the core of that is just social connection. Like people want
Hmm.
to be in a community where they can just go and like feel free to shed everything but their authentic self. And they go knowing that others are there doing the same thing. They're looking to build connections. They are really warm and welcoming. Everyone's just trying to make friends. So it's not weird when you go up to someone and you start a conversation. So, really, at the core of everything, kind of that one like shared similarity among all of our members is that desire to like, truly connect and socialize with other people in kind of the Bay Area and San Francisco in particular.
I'm so curious because I think a lot of like social groups and communities desire to have a sense of like social connection and belonging
Mhm.
across a lot of different identities. And I wonder, I'm like, why do you think that your community has really like thrived even though it's broad?
Yeah. I think that's something I selfishly wanted for myself. I think all community builders build a community because they are also in search of community. And it's kind of it's self-serving at first. But I mean, really, like it's beyond that at this point. Because when I was looking for communities, so a little bit of background. I've grown up in the Bay Area, went to school out here, went to UC Berkeley. So I've had kind of my school friends, my core school friends. I also grew up as a dancer, so I had my dance friends, and that was all my life. I had school, I had dance, and those were my two kind of core communities. And after college, this was like also during the pandemic, so everything kind of blew up, but I find it really hard to transition out of that. And I think everyone goes through that when you're going through those like adulting phases. A lot of my friends moved to New York or elsewhere. I kind of like transitioned out of particular dance communities and was like, what do I do? How do I meet new people for the first time when it's not college?
Who am I now?
Yeah, besides like my colleagues and my coworkers, which are great. Like, how do I meet people outside of these like forced functions and
Hmm.
gatherings? Um, and I just wanted to go and meet people, and I really like I had so many different interests and hobbies, and I was like, if I joined one community for every single one of my diverse interests, I would have to be part of like 50 communities and go to like 100 events every single week, and that's just not sustainable. So I was like, well, I just want to create a space where like you just show up as you are, and then you kind of meet people who share your interests and hobbies, etc. That way, like by just talking to them and learning about them. So it's very like you don't go in meeting someone with a purpose or intention other than to connect and get to know them. And then you kind of surprise yourself when you're like, oh, like you were also from here. Like I was also born here. Or, oh, you are into soccer. Like I also play soccer on the weekends. Like let's play together. And so it's really awesome how those conversations and connections come from you not knowing kind of anything about that person other than they want to be there and they want to meet people and they are in this social club for a reason.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious because I think that like the fact that you have such a broad range of events that you do every month, like the combination of things that you could list off many of them, but I'm just when I look at all the different things you're doing, I'm like really is like such a big range of the types of events that you do. And I'm curious, like it seems as though you have a really like devoted following. Is there things that you like, what are the three things that you would share as like wisdom for other people who want to scale as quickly as you have and have been like as successful as creating so many events and types of events for such a broad range of people?
Yeah. And I again, when I first started this, I was doing one event a month by myself, and from the very beginning, I will say like one of my words of wisdom is collaborate. I am
Mm,
very much a believer that like collaboration is the key. Relationships are the key to everything, are the key to success, are the key to building up such, an amazing community and kind of like structure we have going on. Because when I first started, I had maybe like 100 followers on Instagram. They're all my personal friends. And I was going around to all these local businesses, DMing them, like, hey, like, I want to build a community. Will anyone take a chance on me? And it just took one kind of business to be like, yeah, we love community events, like, host it here and let's partner together. Took one to believe in me. And from then on, like 99% of our events are in collaboration with, again,
I
like
see.
some local organization, which makes lives easier for both. It's so much easier to plan and
Mm-hmm.
organize and market an event when you have a collaborator with their own community too. But then there's kind of a shared ownership, like shared exposure, like it's just a win-win on all sides. So collaboration, I would say, is one, like collaborate with whoever you can. Obviously, like it needs to make sense, like the vision and the mission and the intention needs to align. But I'm a big believer in collaboration and just working with others and building up kind of that partnership. Two,
Mm.
I would say, again, I was all by my own for a few months there. It was just like me and my housemate kind of scrapping up materials and like doing our own marketing and whatnot. And eventually, this was super organic. I never really intentionally created like a volunteer or team structure. But over time,
Mm-hmm.
people were like, I'm really interested. How can I help? Or, I have my 9 to 5. And I want to do something that gives back to community, or I've always been interested in planning events. So I kept hearing all these things, and I just sort of set up just like, hey, if you're interested in joining and volunteering, like, here's the form, here's some way you can be involved. And since then,
Mm.
it's grown. Now we have a team of a little over 15, and we're all super
So
close.
amazing.
I know it's like I never imagined that other people would be as passionate about building this as I was and like so willing to spend their time and energy in it with me. And it feels so good to not do it alone. And we've gotten really close just through those shared experiences. And also, it's like you go to events because we plan them. And every time you go to an event, you're like, okay, there's my team member. Like, I feel really close to like this person, and then you get to meet all the rest of the awesome community members. So truly like building up a team, however you do so, whether it's volunteers or finding and hiring other people just to help you, because it's really hard to do something like this at this scale by yourself.
Mm.
Um,
So real.
yeah, and then my last, I guess, word of wisdom would be leverage social media. That has really been the name of the game for us. I and I don't know if I even really intentionally did it. I think some part of me in the back of my brain was always, trying to like use and leverage social media to the best of our ability. I have a brief background in like influencer marketing. I went to school.
This is good to know.
Always a part of me that was like, I even if no one follows us, like I want to post about what we do on social media because I think I'm a big like believer in showing, not telling, because I can talk about our community all day long, but it's not until you come to an event or you meet one of our community members and hear their stories that you really understand like what this community is and what it means to
Mm,
our members. And social media is one of the great ways we get to highlight that. We post like almost every day basically. It's like what's coming up, what events are coming up, but also like what events happened, like what did they look
mm,
like, what did they feel like. And because we collaborate with others, it's a great opportunity to highlight some of the local businesses and communities that we work with on some of these events. So social media has been really awesome. We have a really engaged community both online and offline, and I think that's just helped us amplify our brand, our community, and our kind of our presence and value.
mm, Amazing. So collaborate,
Hmm.
delegate, or like team build.
Yeah, like build it with other people who are as excited about it as you.
Mm-hmm. And then show on social media so that people really get like a sense
Hmm.
of what your community is about.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I feel as though all three of those things people really struggle with community building,
Hmm.
particularly in the first like year or two. So it's beautiful to see that you've got that momentum going and like able to open up the community in it, even in its structure through collaboration and through delegation, like so that it can be like invested in by so many people more than just you and your housemate. I'm just imagining you and your housemate at the beginning, like.
Yeah. Just like bring these big boxes of things to all places.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned at the beginning like you're a community of communities, which I imagine is like what you're saying about a lot of collaborations. And I'd love to hear more about like what does that look like? Do you you said you collaborate with brands. Um, do you do brand marketing? Like how, and I suppose I'm curious from like a financial perspective because a lot of communities want to do these kind of partnerships and collaborations,
Yeah.
but they find it really difficult to navigate. Like would you talk us through like how you approach uh, partnerships and brand partnerships and collaborations in general?
Yes. Um, So yeah, the community of communities piece is really the collaborations and our partner network. We are just like so open and down to collaborate with anyone who aligns with our mission and vision and really is as excited about what we do and wants to kind of contribute in any way. And part of that is um, so for member exclusive events, like those are typically free. Those are like happy hours. And if you want to like grab a drink, usually those are discounted. They're dinners, and usually there's a discount. There's free kind of workout fitness classes where we'll collaborate with kind of local fitness studios on. And all of those are in collaboration because it's kind of like we get to bring our members there. They have this shared experience. They get to do this really awesome thing, and we in turn kind of highlight the business and the brand on social media to promote that to our members, kind of like bring them into our network for future opportunities. So we really try to make it like a true collaboration where instead of like monetary exchange most times, it's kind of like how can we help each other and build that relationship by bringing exposure through like human-centered experiences. And I do honestly, I've grown to see our community as kind of this like giant group influencer in which brands are looking for people to come into their storefront or, buy or sell their services, right? That's the goal of a business. And I think in today's kind of world of marketing, again, it's a lot of show not tell. Like it's really hard to grab people's attention if they're like, what does this look like? What is the experience like? And you see all these like experiential marketing kind of campaigns and in the world, but no one, I think people forget about harnessing communities because instead of like one influencer, you can get a group of people, and then that group, even if like five of them pull out their phones and like, post on their own stories and whatnot, that just like amplifies times 500,
Mm.
however big your.
Community marketing is so underrated.
Yeah, and I kind of like pieced that together in my brain, kind of like this year where I was like, wow, like it's really about bringing the power of like those in-person really cool activations and experiences, a for our community members because that's the core of what this is. Like my community would not function without our members. But B, it's like it helps other brands with marketing. So that's kind of what collaboration looks like. In terms of like financial model, I mean, to be honest, I think all communities are still figuring out. I'm constantly testing and seeing like what sustainable ways we can fund ourselves. One
Hmm.
of the core kind of principles that I've led our community by, and I am really like trying to make this work and stick it out, is having our membership be free. Because I think I've, talked to so many of our community members where they're like, the best part about this is we get to have these experiences where you can kind of opt in to, ones that are ticketed or and opt out of ones where you're not interested in, but it's free. So it's like the only kind of requirement is our members being active and engaged. It's almost like seeing instead of like money, it's like how often can you show up? How, like how do you show up in our community? Are you active? Are you engaged? Are you talking to people? Are you going to these events? We want to bring, instead of like numbers, I mean numbers are always important, but it's also like quality. Like we want to bring these really
Hmm.
cool, engaged people to this event and who are going to talk about your business and brand too and be genuine like fans of it through this experience. Like I've had members be like, "Oh my gosh, I tried this like, we've worked a lot with Katie from who runs Eat CC. There are these like chickpea truffles, and like I heard from more than one member who's like, "Oh my gosh, like I like will buy from her just like all the time now. Like I'm obsessed with those." And I'm like, "That's so cool." Like she's done a few pop-ups and it's always brand exposure for her, but that actually does convert into loyalty and customers and sales. But it doesn't feel like you're selling, it's just like you
Yeah.
build this authentic relationship almost because you get to meet the person, you get to know about their brand, you get to know about their story, and it's a lot more human than you're online and you're like buying stuff and adding it to your cart.
Mm. Mm. I appreciate you were saying like that you're just like really committed to keeping the membership free and like how to create a financial model where it's like the people get to access the events that they want when they want,
Mhm.
and that from what I understand from what you've shared, like the income model is mostly through brand partnerships. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say like event tickets, if we do ticket events, which is be like 1 to 2 times a month, kind of those bigger events. And recently we have been doing a lot more like those brand partnerships. So it's like brand marketing or we'll charge a fee for pop-ups if you're not one of our official partners. There's like a whole program that we've rolled out. So there's a few different kinds of sources of revenue that we've been able to play with in lieu of like not charging a membership fee because that would be honestly the easiest thing to do. It's like
For sure.
right, so many communities do it and like for good reason because it's an easy way to just like make money and sustain your community and give back to them. But I am really trying to challenge that and see if there is a way we can keep the community free because at the core again like without these members like this would not exist, so I want to try and protect that as much as possible.
Mm. Yeah, I really feel like we're in this era of like subscriptions. People really think that like subscriptions are the way to go because they're reoccurring,
Mm,
but potentially they're like, even if they're a minimal cost, they're they could sacrifice much like bigger opportunities
Yeah.
for people to actually engage more and then scale the community and make it a really thriving community to be a part of. So it's interesting. I love hearing you trying to like find that way.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that you've like rolled out a program of like different tiers of brand partnership engagement. Are you willing to share a little bit more about that, seeing as so many people want to do that more, but do find it intimidating?
Yeah, yeah, and this is like super nascent. So again, we've just launched it this month pretty much. So it's
In draft,
very
it's
testing.
all in draft always.
Yeah, but it's really playing around with the idea of we have so many wonderful collaborators. We've been trying to build like a really tight, again, a community of communities. We want to build a community for our collaborators because they're all in some ways like very like-minded. They want to collaborate with other communities, brands, etc. But they're also like leaders and founders, and they have that like business entrepreneurial mindset that connects them all. So we also want to create a community for them, with them. And what we realized was, you can only have so many collaborators before like it's really not an intimate network and kind of partnership anymore. So we've since kind of started thinking, okay, like we have these collaborators, which are they're all amazing, but how can we target like creating more of a curated experience, really like leaning in and providing our time and energy and expertise to some of these more specific partners. So this new partner program is really our way of trying to do that. And funny enough, we're testing a subscription fee with that and seeing it's a little bit like easier to market that to a business than to, someone who's just a member of our community has been attending these events for free for almost 2 years. But we are playing around with that. We're trying to see, like if you're paying for a cup of coffee, the price of a cup of coffee every month, like how much more incremental value is that going to give you? Can we provide for you by creating that very like intimate curated network for you?
Well, I am wholeheartedly rooting for you. You're it sounds like you're well resourced in community and connection and collaboration, and like then you get to play around with different financial models to like
Mhm.
make that really sustainable.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's always things are always evolving and changing. I feel like every month, if not week, I'm like walking or like doing something and I have this idea of like, oh my gosh, what if we tried this and what if we tried that? And that's
Hmm.
kind of the beauty of starting something and having a team too, is like playing around with ideas and also like not taking anything too seriously. Like we are a community, we have fun, we're doing events, and it's okay to like test and try things and see what sticks and what works and what doesn't.
Mm. Love that. You're like experimenting forever.
Yeah.
I'm curious about and maybe this is just like inside your brain and not necessarily written out, but like how do you talked about the values of the community and members and this idea of just like being open and curious regardless of their like identity or age or like interests, that you're purposefully generalist. Are you also the same with your partnerships and collaborations, like if it's just a mutual eagerness, or do you have particular values of how you filter partnerships that you do, whether they're paid or not?
Yeah, we are really open. Like we will reach out. I mean, in the beginning, it was all me reaching out, and we've been really fortunate now to have so many like kind of inbound, like requests and opportunities. We don't have like you must be of this business size or you must do this to collaborate with us because we do so many diverse events, and that's kind of the fun of it is our events are very much shaped by whatever that collaboration looks like. And it's so unique because, if we're collaborating with um, Park Padel, like that's going to look very different from partnering with a restaurant. And you can't do like the same kind of event with those respective things. So our events very largely come and are ideated because of the collaboration that's happening. And I think, yeah, we're very open. We don't have like set list of requirements other than the mission and the vision align and kind of like just expectation setting in terms of roles, responsibilities, like what our team is gonna do, what their team is gonna do. Because as much as
Nice.
we like to help out and we really love to plan stuff, we've kind of realized like it's not sustainable for us to be carrying like all of the work. Like we need to divide and
Hmm.
conquer and really set expectations for roles and responsibilities. And now, you know, having agreements and contracts in place, like that's something that we've developed this year too, because sometimes that's necessary, and you need to have things like written down to, you know, hold people accountable, our team and, you know, the other party included. So that's really like just the core is like mutual passion and interest, mutual respect, just like communication, kind of the general like what like kind of the general best practices in working with someone just as a professional.
Mm. Sounds very wise to have like clarity of roles and responsibilities
Yeah.
written down and just being like, even if we've got all the enthusiasm in the world, we can't do it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. We've been talking a lot of like logistics and structural, and I want to come back to you were saying like you started this club because you'd come out of this era and like pandemic and college friends and dance friends and being like co-workers, and I'm curious for you personally, like how does it feel to be a part of this community that so many people are now invested in and committed to?
Yeah, it still feels surreal sometimes. I just like I still have my 9 to 5 job, right? That's still like how I make my income and my living. And I think just a part of me is so healed and passionate about this 5 to 9 life that I live. And actually sometimes these
Hmm.
worlds cross over, which is so, so cool.
Ooh.
And it's like I am now like I feel so integrated and intertwined in the San Francisco community as a whole. And there's just so many people out there that I haven't met. But it is really cool when I, you know, go to an event that isn't hosted by SF Social Club and it's just a random event and I'm just walking on the street and I see someone or I pop my head into like one of our business partners and say hi. Like it just feels like such
Mm.
a smaller world. I've lived here like basically my entire life and have never had that experience of belonging in kind of a city environment. You know, you have your spaces and social spaces of belonging, but feeling so integrated with a city and the people who live here is such a cool feeling. And always I hear stories, not all the time because I only see and hear like what's told to me or what's presented to me, but it is so cool when someone comes up to me and says, hey, like I met this person through our kind of offline channel. I met up with them and now we're best friends. Or now we go and take bachata classes together. Or now we have learned to play tennis together. Or, oh my gosh, you talked to this person, they were really cool. And now we're like in a romantic relationship. It's just like all of these different, I know, like that is, I'm like, I'm just so glad that it's grown beyond me. Like, even though I started
Hmm.
it, I'm also very intentional about like not having me directly or like so kind of like ostentatiously like be the figurehead of the community. Like I'm in the pictures and stuff, but I'm not like this is my community, like my name is Margie and blah blah blah. Like I truly
Mhm.
want it to feel like a community owned by our community and everyone has their part to play in it. And it's been really cool just to like see it grow and build and evolve and I'm still figuring out what we're doing a lot of times and it's cool to have like our community support that, right? They're like you're doing great and I'm like sometimes I don't know what I'm doing and they're like that's totally fine. Like we're enjoying ourselves. So it's great to like have that kind of support and just like positive energy too. It's always it's always so fun just like meeting new people that maybe initially like I wouldn't have like gravitated towards and then you talk to them and they end up being really cool. You end up having all these shared
Mm.
interests. So I think it just bridges a connection with people you might not have necessarily crossed paths with before.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like, as you're speaking, I'm imagining, like, your world in San Francisco has got bigger and
Mhm.
smaller at the same time.
Yeah,
Like, there's this, I don't know how to
really,
explain that
so really
feeling.
weird when people like not that I'm not that I'm like a public figure by any means. Like, but it is super cool when people come up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're Margie. You're the, you run SF Social Club." Or it's even cooler when people are like, "I heard about this event through SF Social Club. Like, how did you hear about it?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm with SF Social Club too. And I founded the community." They're like, "Oh, you're Margie." Like, I don't know,
Oh.
like I love kind of just like being a little bit anonymous sometimes. I kind of like
You're like hiding behind the
like the little
curtain
thought
while everyone's
reactions.
on stage.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, surprise, like no, that's like super cool that people kind of like that it lives a little bit more separately from me. Still very much involved, but like in terms of, you know, on the stage, like it does have its own life, aside from all that I do behind the scenes.
It's so beautiful that it's become something so much bigger than yourself.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And there's so much more to come. I have so many ideas and like ways
Oh,
we could better integrate into the city and make the experiences just like bigger scale, but still have like intimate experiences for our members. There's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of opportunities.
of
And I think it's
course.
like community building is it's still very much a new space. um, it's interesting because it is not exactly like a business because there's a lot of factors that you wouldn't consider if you're just running like a true kind of profit generating business. At the same time, like we're not a nonprofit, so like finding the balance between staying true to the community, keeping ourselves financially sustainable, and making it a good experience for like all the different stakeholders that we work with.
Yeah, I admire the way that you're bridging many different worlds as like a community builder, as you're
Yeah.
saying, like
I'm like, how
kind of non-profit,
everything.
kind of for-profit, kind of like a whole nother
Yeah.
combination that's not even a hybrid.
Yeah.
I'm no worries if it's top secret, but I'm curious, like you're saying, about these visions and hopes for the future. Like, what
Hmm.
are some of those things of like integrating more into the city or any of your hopes and dreams?
Yeah. Well, this is maybe a far-fetched hope, but I don't think it's too far-fetched. Is like in terms of sustainable funding. How I met Eric was actually through this like community builders group. We just had like our first get together a few weeks ago, and I think something that I and like my table we were really talking about is like I think across the board everyone was talking about sustainable funding. That's like in how
Hmm.
to make money and continue to invest in your community. That's like one of the top problems and challenges for all communities. And I'm like, wouldn't it be so cool if we were able to work with like a more established entity like the actual city, like some other like organization who is really committed to social activity and these activations and experiences for kind of city people living in a city. Like, how can we partner with a more established organization to maybe like have some grants or funding, some like bucket full of money specifically dedicated to the communities that really build up the city? Because if you think about it, if you took away like all the kind of self-built communities outside of any city, like that community or that city just would not be the same slash like would totally
So
be
true.
desolate, because there's only so many events and activations that the city itself and the businesses like that they can do, and it's really those like self started communities that are kind of like grassroots bringing people together from the ground up that are helping drive a lot of the energy and growth in a city. So part of me, I'm like, in an ideal world, like that's the solution to this kind of funding problem is like working more closely with an entity like the actual city.
I'm like, let's make this
I know,
happen.
I'm like, I would be the mayor, Lori, so I'm like, please respond to my DM.
You're like, who do I know in federal government? Let's get
Yeah, I know.
started.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a totally different world from like what I have ever lived in.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder if you did a call out to all of your members to be like, who has relationships to city council, who has relationships
Yeah, I'm like, how can
to
we
anyone in any government capacity? Let's go.
and I think like I can't do it myself. Like I think with this community builder group and like there's so many other communities building community like like I guess community of communities kind of those groups like if there's like a coalition if we all came together and like came up with this big vision, mission, statement, and like we're able to like go in front of the mayor or their team and like do a pitch and create that opportunity. I think that'd be so cool because I don't think, I mean, my voice is only as impactful and empowered as me and my individual community, but like to have like multiple groups would really put a statement out and I think highlight the impact that we're bringing.
Hmm. I'm so glad that y'all are gathering because I think that's the kind of the irony often of like community builders is that community builders are often so isolated
Yeah.
and that it's like
Yeah.
they're starting their own thing, but it's
Yeah,
separated. So it's
totally.
beautiful that y'all are coming together.
Yeah, it's hard to understand until you talk to someone else who's doing like the same thing
Totally.
you're doing because that night was awesome. And I've done like a few of those like community builder groups before. Honestly, it takes like time and energy and investment to like go and like really like put yourself in that. I already do so many events and I have so much to do, but like taking time out of your day to do something like that, like the return on like time investment to say is like huge because you get to connect with other people who are doing the same thing you're doing, who are as passionate about what you're doing as you're doing.
Hmm. And literally why this podcast and Laurentum exists. So I'm so glad that like you can share all these wisdom and insights so that other people can, even if they're like not in San Francisco, can be like, oh my God, thank you so much, Margie. Like,
Gosh, yes.
ding.
I love talking about like it's so niche and like you don't meet
It is.
many people who are in this world. So I love talking about this stuff and always connecting with other people who are doing the same thing.
Yeah. Your sharing has been so generous and open.
Mhm.
And I suppose I have one question that's like a final general question,
Mhm.
which is there anything that you feel like you haven't said or shared that would help your sharing and our conversation feel complete?
I don't think so. I feel like I've kind of hit on my usual points. I think that I guess the big storyline is like things are ever evolving, things are changing, building communities. There's no like recipe for it. There's no like there there is anything you can Google to like build your community because it's so tailored to what you're doing. You can't just like go and build any community. It has to align with like your vision. And you have to like very carefully craft it. So it's very ambiguous, which is why there's this space for like connection and just education and sharing resources. So I think the more that community builders can do that, share resources, share knowledge, connect with each other, like be really honest and transparent about some of the challenges, but also celebratory about the highlights and the wins. I think that kind of support is so needed and so important because there's no playbook for building a community. It's very much like you're just swimming in uncharted waters and you're like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing it because it makes other people happy and it makes me happy.
Yeah, you're like experiment, experiment, who
Always
knows, who knows, here we
experimenting.
go.
Yeah, it's also different. This is like a side tangent, but like my mom is a startup founder. She's in VC world. Like and I grew up with like a business background. So like transitioning my brain, having like it's so helpful having that like business background and the fundamentals of just understanding how things can work. But also like then translating that into, oh my gosh, but I have to keep it really human. Like these are human
Mm,
experiences. Like I can't just be like making deals like they're not affecting real people. That translation has been really interesting, and like treating this not as like a startup, because that's a totally different mentality. Like a community is very different from a startup. And like, I don't like, I personally like don't know if we would get investors that just like doesn't feel super aligned to our community. I mean, who knows?
Mm,
But it's a really interesting way to think about it, like starting a quote unquote business without it really being a business. So there is no playbook, because you have like lessons learned from startups and whatnot. You have like tons of videos and resources out there. But for communities, it's a lot harder.
my goodness. Now I want to just have a whole nother hour conversation about how starting a community is not a startup and how,
Yeah,
as you're saying, like the business principles, but really centering and prioritizing the humanness, and how I think honestly all leaders could follow that more generally in all businesses, and that it would actually bring so much more brand allegiance.
totally. I mean,
I'm like, that's a whole nother conversation, but
I everything is a community. Like if you're building a startup
totally.
or running a business, like your people are a community. The partners that you're contracting with, like they're also kind of part of your community. So it's like, how can
Mm-hmm.
you create these experiences and like build these relationships and connections where, I mean, ideal world, it wouldn't feel so transactional. It would feel like you truly know them, and it's not a deal,
Mm.
but it's more of a, okay, how can I support you? How can you support? Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Which is also, yeah, maybe it's also like there's an irony of being in the Bay Area where it's like startup
Yes.
land, and there very much is like that mentality of, like business, and how can we create new things and watch them grow at 1000 times speed. But then sometimes, like, again, like when you're living this world, I think you forget about just like slowing down and like appreciating the humanness behind, like humans are what drive the cog on the wheel. Eventually like AI might, but that's another story for another time.
But our biggest edge is that we are human.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Our superpower.
Agree.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Margie, and I look forward to future
Yeah.
conversations.
I appreciate
Thank you
it
so
so
much.
much. This is lovely.
Absolutely. Mm. Yeah, already have so many buzzing things that we can talk about next time.
Yeah, I mean, happy to chat whenever. I just love yapping and talking in general.
Let's yap again then.